Oh, hello. Hello.
Hey, Jay. Yeah, I have. I think I have another Comcast outage. I'm just tittering now. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow. It's up. Going to come back at 4 p.m. Wow. Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I have um headering limit at some point, but I don't know where I am.
Are you on mobile hotspots right now then?
No, I'm just doing on my phone.
Oh,
They made the um you can ask for a reimbursement if there's an outage. So if you were yesterday, they gave me $5.
wow.
It's like a button you press, and it's I guess it's pretty fast. Like I was looking at the hey, is there an outage thing? And then there's like a button that you can click on to get reimbursement. Well, $5, $5, I guess.
But it's really annoying to,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Like, so recently I moved and so I moved into two bed and then the office that I have set up my office in one room and the router is like further away from that room, and if the door is closed, like I wouldn't be able to work and stuff. It was really annoying to figure that out and set up everything.
Hmm. Do you have Comcast?
I have a sound wave.
What is it?
Wave.
Oh,
S.
Babe. Oh yeah, yeah. That, fiber, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fiber.
Yeah. Oh, that's fancy. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I used that fiber long, long, long time ago.
Why?
Verizon. I really like the symmetrical upload and download.
Yeah. Why do you move to broadband then?
Oh, you don't have a choice. Like it's all like, hey, um, monopoly, right? So it's either you get one cable provider or something else. Yeah, and then fiber is only available if you live in a city, I think.
Yeah.
Do you have Comcast, Rita?
Yes, I'm nodding. But we don't have an outage, so that's good.
I'm gonna turn off your backgrounds. I mean videos actually.
Huh?
I'm gonna turn off everybody's videos for myself. You guys can keep it.
Oh, okay.
You can turn off videos.
Yeah. Yesterday I did that in Teams when the connection was bad, and then there was a button to say turn off the videos.
Interesting.
Zoom has it somewhere.
Seems like an iPhone feature or like phone feature rather than Zoom's. Interesting. Yeah, I only had one agenda today, so we can get started on it.
Okay.
Yeah, so last week we discussed the design for this driver, and then the next points for me were to look at like Fluentbit or other popular platforms that ingest logs and see how they are doing it so that we maintain the same interface uh, for the like broadest use cases, and I went through it, and all of them are pretty flexible in terms of how they can be configured. Like it can be configured to read from empty directory with like any extension, and then uh, to read from like latest modified file and whatever. So like whatever we have in terms of designing having multiple files for audit runs, and then um, deleting or garbage collecting the oldest file should work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I cleaned it up a little bit so that like it's more clear, and I removed the code part rather than I describe things that each method should do. So do take a look at it. And I also pinged Max to see if he is available to review. Uh, and, but I am not sure whether or not I should raise a PR for this if we are in agreement, and then take it from there.
Okay, so is this doc ready to be re-reviewed by Max? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, I just actually pinged on the Slack as well, but let's see if he's around to review.
Okay. Do you need anything from us?
Just go through the doc, or like we can go through it together right here, and see if you guys have any like thoughts or improvements or objections. That's it.
Yeah, okay, let's do that.
Do you want to take a few minutes to read it quickly?
Yeah.
Is everybody done, or do we still need to?
We can start.
Gina,
Wanna do-
one question. For the multiple files, how are we naming the files?
It would be the
Audit ID.
audit ID. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So audit ID dot log, and then once the file is ready, and then like, so I was thinking maybe we could have a configuration knob in the connection itself where users can specify what extension to add, or what postfix kind of suffix, what suffix to add to the file when it is ready to be reviewed from. Ready to be read from. Uh, and so like it can be treated as custom extension, and then once the file is ready to be renamed, the driver would add like dot ready or dot done or whatever extension to that file.
I see. And then it
What
can be when you say audit ID, it's the timestamp, right? Like this.
Yeah.
what was the rationale for having a custom extension?
It's just a indicator or marker that this file is ready to be read from. Like we can statically do it as well, but it's just additional configuration that users can control.
Okay. It's like a signal that the file is ready. Okay.
Do we ever want to do windows? If so, then I don't think we can use the columns there. Maybe we could replace them just in case.
Hmm. Uh,
I don't think
so
it's a concern. It's just like, hey, maybe if you ever end up doing it, then I think the columns on the file names cause issues on there.
So probably replace colons with underscores.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Or we can, yeah, I think that makes sense. Or we can just use a hash function or whatever to create random file names.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really need to do additional compute. I think it's fine. We just need to change them. Um, any other comments? I mean, this makes sense to me, I think.
Yeah, I think Rita added one to for error reporting and test. I'll I'll add that section.
And I think you said we tested with like a large number of violations, right? The rotation is not a concern.
Sorry.
I think you said we tested with a large number of violations, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I tested with like huge number of violations for with multiple audit files, and rotation was like it was not much of concern as long as we had like, so I tested with it. I tested it with three. Uh, as in like keeping last three audit results and then garbage collecting the rest, and it was fine.
And then did you look at the file sizes? Just curious.
No, I didn't. But
Um,
I can figure it out.
I guess one sort of concern would be what if these are all in the tempter, right? Which is in the node
Yeah.
space. Yeah. What would be the file sizes for large number of violations, and what happens if the node runs out of disk space?
But so the size is very variable, right? Like it really depends on the message length and other stuff as well.
Yeah. And I guess also depends on the like each file size too, right? If you're keeping like 3 files, then there's going to be like 3 times whatever
Yeah.
the max size.
Each audit individual file would be the roughly the same size, but like how much is it? It's kind of trickier to figure out because it's just so variable.
Because it gets consumed.
Not because it gets consumed, but like users have different. Uh, like it's the length of a violation message is not deterministic, right? So that we can say that
Oh,
this
oh,
is
right. It's yeah, with like best case, obviously, yeah. Like it's hard to know, but
yeah.
given
And then
that
I mean
like a basic one, like say the allowed image is one. What would be like a ballpark
yeah,
file?
I can figure that number. Yeah.
I guess once we hit that, the kubelet will start garbage collection, and then delete like all the images and whatnot.
Are you done, Surtaj?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm writing a comment here just as a reminder, but like what you said about emission latency should not get affected. I think this comment is actually not true. I think both for audit and emission, there would be some latency, right? Like I guess like you've done some tests to know like what is the performance impact like writing to a file compared to writing to the CRD or CR, I should say.
So it really depends on how it is getting consumed also. Like for example, I was using sidecar logs to just log it, and in that I didn't really through multiple files I didn't really see the audit being affected as much because each write operation didn't take that much amount of a time, but for single file thing it I can see that happening if the reader is slower.
Yeah. This is all from multiple files, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
I assume we
yeah,
already settled on that.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So for multiple file, at least for writing, from writer's perspective, I didn't notice the audit being delayed for that much amount of a time, unless there is a problem with like file itself or audit is somehow not being able to write on it.
Mhm. I guess what I'm trying to say is I think you should add a little bit of like to do like add a section for performance impact in general, both for audit and emission down the road, right? Because I think to your point, depending on how failures are handled, how how much violations we're talking about, it could impact the overall audit performance. Like that's on the audit side, right? And then for the web plug, I think again, depending on how, uh, like, say the type of disk you have, maybe it could have some latency. I just think it's weird to say there's no latency impact at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think if you could add that into like the performance considerations, and then once we're done with this stuff, maybe run some tests just to say, hey, we use these like this type of VM and we ran it and this was like the just to compare apple to apple, right? Like
Yeah.
then we can really say it has like zero latency impact, or maybe even better, who knows, right? Probably not, but you get my point. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So for next step,
It's funny because this is the exact same question that I get asked on KEPs. When you have time, I'll send it one to you just so you can see like there's a template, right, for the kind of questions. Like for example, there's like questions on SLO, SLI, like anything you add, like you have to think about what is the like overall impact on the system. I think these are good questions. Yeah. What else? Yeah, I think I'm more concerned about when there is a failure. Like, I think audit probably less concerned because it's if it doesn't work.
error reporting becomes a little bit trickier as of now as well, because right now it's just logs. And then once we have CRD, we can design status around it to make sure the error is bubbled up as well.
Oh, I was actually thinking you could still report the error in the um constraint C.
Constraint? Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's the easiest way, I think.
Yeah.
Because you already have access to it. So instead of writing the violations, you can write this like the errors.
And then Jay,
And I think we should cap the errors also, or just like accumulate it. We like I'll need to figure it out.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry.
for the constraints, so are we like combining all the constraint violations into a single file?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if there is any like security implications for that one. I guess because
Not
you need the gatekeeper pod.
not really, because it's like it's same as CRs, right? As the constraint CRs.
Right.
Yeah. And the fact that we don't oh, actually it is different, right? Because this is like the same stuff we write to logs. So it's more there's more details, right, than what we write to constraints. Is that right? Am I dreaming about this?
Uh, yeah, there are more details, but I don't think they are sensitive details. Let's see what we logged versus what we
Like if
uh,
you remember, this is the
string.
sorry, let me clarify my question. What we're writing to the files, is it the same as the violation we write to status? No, okay. Can
It's
you
the
ask?
same as we write it in the log.
I see.
The semantic logs, right? The like the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
audit violation, whatever it's called. Yeah.
It takes.
Okay, good to know.
I guess the only different, maybe not. Yeah. I was thinking if you have access to the node, then you're already going to have access to both of them anyway.
Then if you have access to know, there's so much you
Then
can.
yeah, it's game over anyway.
Yeah, but again, to your point though, this is escalation of privilege escalation in that yes, it's bad you're like the attackers on the node, but like for example, we're not logging secrets, right? Like if we're logging secrets and the bad guy gets access to that, then they just got more like things just got worse, right? If that makes sense.
But I think the gatekeeper logs would already be in the node anyway, right? Because they're either container logs or this basically
That's right.
written to
That's
disk.
right. Yeah,
So it's either a file or the
right.
logs, yeah,
Exactly.
container logs. So, yeah,
Oh,
so-
well, no, because it's the audit, the node that runs the audit. Oh, sorry, this write to file is on the same node that writes audit, right? That runs audit.
yeah,
So it's
exactly.
the same node, okay.
Same node, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Audit logs, yeah, I don't see anything sensitive, right?
Yeah, unless like the constraint itself reveals some sensitive messages in message or something. I don't think we log something sensitive.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're logging, it will already be in the logs or it will be in the constraints anyway, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, and we're writing the
oh, sorry,
JSON. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead. Rita.
Are we writing the JSON exactly as it is in the log?
Yeah.
I was going to ask if there's any error, sort of like writing to disk failed, whatever. Do we add to all of the constraint statuses?
That's yeah, that's an interesting one. Should it
Say
be
that one more
limited
time.
to
Say that one more time.
Me or Jay?
Surtash.
So I was saying if we have an issue writing to disk, say out of disk space, whatever, do we write the error to all of the constraints status fields? Is that clear, Rita?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I think it should be on the constraint which generates the violation, right? Like other constraint
No, I
don't.
think he meant like audit like cluster wide issue, like audit run issue, not constraint specific issues.
Yeah, say like the disk is full. Yeah, that's an easy example for like it would basically be impacting all of the policies.
So that's where I figured like reporting to connection would be
Mm,
make sense, that because this is not able to write to disk, but I can at the same time see the value similarly to report it on constraint as well, to make sure the constraint authors know that these violations are not getting reported.
yeah, if it's audit run issues, yeah, I think connection or even the audit status, like audit plot status might be useful too. Is the connection stuff a CRD?
Right now it's config map, but we should
Oh,
have
right.
CRD.
Okay. That's true. I guess like it depends, right? The problem could be in the connection or it could be audit itself, right?
Running out of disk space doesn't really comply on the connection problem part, right? It's like something, the connection is still available, it's just resources that are not available. In that case, like it comes under audits problem, I don't know.
Right, but it's for this connection, I guess.
I mean, but if the disk is full, no other connection will be able to write anything anyways. So it's for all
But
connections.
say if you have other connections, like if you don't write to this, you write to something else.
Yeah.
That's why I think for that argument, it's connection specific. Yeah, but let's say like think of a failure at the like audit level, right? I don't know. Let's say I'm just making it up. Like let's say audit service account doesn't have like permission to read something. Like that would be like it doesn't matter what connection, like the whole audit is failed. Yeah. But you are correct that if you don't have, if the connection stuff is not a CR yet, where did you write that? Audit for now?
Audit pod?
Audit pod status, yeah. What do you think, Sartash?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. The audit path status. I think we need to classify like what type of errors would we see, or think about them. Like,
So in like I also have a testing code, and one of the error was that like file doesn't exist or invalid argument passed, and sometimes it wasn't clear why this error was getting reported unless I know the code. Uh,
is it always like all or nothing errors, or can it be like a constraint specific errors?
so far, it was all or nothing error for my testing at least.
I mean, those make sense to be on the audit path status. But constraint specific ones, if we have any use cases for that, those make sense to be in the constraint status.
But so another question is like, do we report the like per violation error or per audit run error? Because like for every violation, let's say it's an audit wide problem, right? For every violation there will be an error, and it will be like huge chunk to aggregate also.
Hmm?
Let's say I have 10,000 violations, so that requires 10,000 writes, and each and every write is failing, so that means there are 10,000 errors, right? How do we report 10,000 errors for audit?
Right.
Yeah, we basically needed limits for the errors now. That's a good point.
Well, that's why I think depends on where the error occurred. Like for example, I assume like in the audit code, right? Like you start with creating the file and maybe like writing the timestamp like that it's like at the beginning that should probably be audit level error, right? Whereas if you're going through the loop, each individual error, then that should probably be in the constraint status.
But so the system is isolated with the audit, right?
Yeah.
So the file creation and everything else is not as part of the audit. It's like part of the system where after the audit is.
Ah, right. Oh, and by the way, the error handler should also consider if the connection failed, we should just skip the loop. skip the audit loop. No point. Yeah.
Wait, we still do audit, just not
But you're not writing it anywhere.
just not write it to disk, right?
Huh?
Just not write to disk.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying it should still go to the log.
Yeah, and the constraints.
Well, there's no constraints, right? Like they're not really reporting it on the constraint, right?
But isn't this in addition to constraints?
I don't know. You guys were saying how you would use 0, right?
Oh, yeah, in that case, yeah, but you can also not use 0, right? Like you could use 20. That's the
I
difference.
see.
So
Sure,
this
sure.
would be in addition to it, not
That's fair. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So
obviously
it
if it's
depends
0,
on
then yeah,
yeah, depends on how you configure it, right?
yeah, that's right. So obviously if you have 0 and you don't have a connection, there's no point in auditing.
Right, right. Yeah, so I think if it's a failure on write to the specific connection or driver, then that error should go to the connection status and not the and you wouldn't write it 1,000 times, I guess. Um, are you thinking that let's say there are 1,000 violations, it stops working like midway? Yeah, could happen. You run out of disk, right? Yeah.
Yeah. This- Another problem is like how do we determine if it's a connection level error or audit level error?
Well, you said you do the audit first and then you write, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That
So
makes
then you will know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so for that part, I think audit level errors are already getting reported or probably are reported somewhere.
Right, right. So I'm less concerned about that. It's so right, you just need to handle the
Right.
connection errors. Yeah. But to your point, if it fails midway, how do you report that?
Yeah. So in this case, the best would be to report on like connection object CRD status. But since we don't have that,
Yeah. Pod status for now.
I, I I can see like constraint status also, like respective constraint failed, like violations for these. Like let's say it stops midway, right? That means some of the violations pertaining to some constraints are already been written. So for the other ones, like we can report that these violations generated by these constraints are not exported or written anywhere.
Yeah, maybe. I'm just trying to think how useful that is. Like if I'm the admin or like the operator, I have to go to each constraint and look it up. Yeah. I don't know. Just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
Um and
But so
I
at the same time, like I mean, I don't know.
and then as far as like writing to the file, like I'm just thinking like any regular processes where you write a bunch of stuff to a file, right? Usually you go through like a retry, like you retry a number of times and then you just stop, right? So you wouldn't actually get 1,000, uh, you know, file write issues and then having to report on that because basically you get all these violations already, right? And then you're trying to write it to the file, right? And so you probably just if there are failures, you just retry a few times and then you stop because you're not writing in a loop, are you?
Actually, we are, yeah.
Okay.
Let me see. Where is that code? Yes. because otherwise, like you have to construct a badge and then pass the badge to system, which again causes the same problem as memory issue, where you are now.
Okay, gotcha. So you're writing as you're getting the violations? Okay, gotcha. Okay, that's confusing because earlier you said you to go through the auto loop and then you write.
So this is where I'm writing. We are writing the violation.
I
Like
think
it's
if we
right
are
before the deny. Sorry, audit, or when audit is logged, and I think it's in between. Sorry, Sartaj, you are saying something.
oh sorry, I was just gonna say I think if we are going through all the audit and then writing it, that would increase the memory like significantly.
Yeah, I'm gonna add a comment to just add this to the doc. Yeah.
Mm, yeah, it's after the fact. Let me share my screen. Wait, what? Which screen? Sorry. Yeah, it's after the responses from constraints framework, like after the review has been called.
Yeah, that's the one that writes the results to the constraint status, I think.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's writing as it's going through the loop.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, the constraint status is not the writing as it goes through. Are we did you mean that or something else?
No, I'm just looking at the link that JDip sent.
Yeah. So in this one we construct a list which
Yeah.
gets returned and then it's reported to the reported on status. But right now, like within this function, we are just writing it in the loop for all the responses.
Yeah, when you were sharing it, your screen, the which line was it? Let me see. The where we write to the constraint, that's a single write. It's not a we go through the loop thing.
Wait, what?
We were just highlighting it earlier. I'm just trying to look at the code. Yeah, line 745. That one, yeah. Yeah, this is a single write to the constraints because we can only do a single write.
No, this is not writing to constraint still. Like up until this point, it's just constructing an audit, like building the list to report violations. In the audit response to update list, like there is no right to constraint status still.
Let me double check. I thought we were writing it here.
So it just updates the violation and then right audit result is actually where the update
Oh,
happens.
okay, yeah, yeah. Write audit results is what I meant. Where is that one? Where is it?
which is line number 361.
Yeah, 361. Yeah, that's one, right? It passes update list to there. That's what I was confused. So that's a writing to the constraints.
Yeah, since you're writing one at a time, I guess it's probably a good idea to aggregate the errors somehow. Because like you said, you don't want to report on 1,000 like
Yeah.
disk failure, right? Type
Yeah.
of error.
Hey, did
So
you know?
one thing I can think of is like have a map of errors. At least that way, if I can come up with like some error types or see if there are like similar error types, we can just maintain a map so that we at least get unique errors and see
Yeah,
if we can aggregate that ones.
yeah.
Uh,
I think
but I
that's
actually haven't tested that, so
yeah, I think at least the error types will be helpful. Group by, yeah. This is discussed in the community call. Keep track and add for error types. So we report unique errors to audit. All right. Anything else?
no, I think I have the next steps clearly
Okay,
defined. So
sounds good. Okay,
cool.
cool.
Perfect.
Let's get this shipped.
Yeah.
Um, there there are other things on the horizon, as you
Yeah.
know. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.